All right, in this lesson, I want to introduce you guys to the concept of outbound prospecting, also referred to as cold outreach. So before we get into the specific details of LinkedIn and email and how to do all this stuff, I just want to kind of help you understand like what it is you're really doing here. So first, as you know, there's a lot of different ways to market any business, right? There's a ton of different ways to generate leads. But ultimately, just to help you understand what outbound is when you start the conversation with another person. So basically think of marketing like there's either push or there's pull methods, right? So what we're teaching you here is the push methods, which is outbound. Now, pull methods is basically referred to as inbound, which is where maybe you put content out there, you launch an ad campaign, you speak at a conference or on a podcast, and you're basically putting content out there, and some people will find that and come to you. Outbound is the reverse. It's called push marketing, where you're going out to start the conversation. You're going out to find people that you think are a great fit for what you do, that you can truly help, and you're sending them a message or giving them a call and starting the conversation. So that's the main difference. Again, we're teaching you outbound, and there's a lot of different ways to do outbound. You can do cold email and you can do LinkedIn, which is what we're going to focus on in this course, but also you can do a trade show, you can actually call people, you can send people stuff in the mail, do direct mail. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Inbound is more like social media or blogging or again, speaking at an event or running an ad campaign, something like that. Now, the reason we're teaching you outbound in this course is because there's so many benefits, especially when you're just starting a business or you're still in the early stages. Outbound is just very, very simple. Really you're just starting a conversation with another person, right? You don't need like fancy software, you don't need very complicated technology. Of course, we'll show you some softwares that'll help make this easier, but you don't need a whole lot of tech to do this. It's also it's basically low to almost zero cost. You're not gonna have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to get a Google ad campaign up. Really it's like less than a few $100s a month just for the software when you're really doing this at a big scale. So low to no cost, low to no technology required. You also don't need an audience. If you have an audience or a following already, that's great because it'll be a little bit easier when people look you up. But ultimately, if you're just starting a brand new business and you haven't really developed a personal brand or a business brand yet, that's totally fine because again, you're reaching people and contacting them directly. You're not relying on people to look you up or know your brand. So ultimately, all that to say is anyone, anywhere can do this. It's absolutely the simplest and most effective way to get any business really off the ground and get a consistent flow of sales. Some of the other benefits to outbound over inbound or pull marketing like we talked about earlier is that you can really reach like a very targeted audience. If you were going to launch a Facebook ad campaign, you're going to have a pretty broad audience no matter what. But with outbound, you can actually reach someone directly. You can actually find one specific business that you really see as a great fit to work with you and contact them directly. So it's a great way to get direct to decision makers, especially if you're trying to reach decision makers that are very hard to reach, like a CMO or a CEO. It's a great way to kind of get a conversation started with them versus a more broad approach to marketing. Also, if you have a very specific audience or like what you sell is very niche, outbound is going to be very effective because again, you can get so targeted with it more than any other marketing method. Another cool thing about outbound is that it's very easy to measure. You can really see well what you're doing, where if you're going out to build a social media following, of course you have analytics, but it's kind of like really hard to tie that into, how many calls you're getting, how many clients you're getting. But with outbound, you can really track all this, which I'll show you later. And it's very easy to measure like if what you're doing is working or not and whether you can adjust. So the last big benefit of outbound is that it's very fast to show impact. Now, no matter whatever marketing you're doing, you gotta be patient, you gotta give it time to actually work for you and get the hang of it. But compared to some other marketing methods, outbound is pretty quick to work. If you're gonna be trying to build like a blog and an SEO presence on your website, it could easily take 6 to 9 months before you're getting good traction with that and before you know if it's working. Same as social media. If you're building a YouTube channel or an Instagram following, you're gonna have to spend a lot of time and let a lot of months go by before you actually get to see the fruits of your labor. And the other thing too is that, it's gonna take a long time to see if what you're doing is actually working or not, right? But with outbound, you can see it pretty quick. Of course, it still could take a few months to really get the hang of it, but really in the first few weeks, you can start seeing some conversations, some new leads come in and some meetings getting booked. So very fast to show impact, which helps you see earlier if you're on the right track or not. Cool, now that you understand what we're doing, let's talk about some goals and what you can actually expect once you get the hang of this. So we're gonna be going for the slow and steady approach rather than just trying to spam a lot of people, because that's what a lot of people do when it comes to cold outreach. Now, as far as your numbers, you can expect maybe in a 90-minute work session to contact 20 to 50 people or prospects. So we say 90 minutes because I think in the beginning, if you can commit to at least spending 90 minutes a day, building your pipeline and doing this stuff, then you'll be able to see some results fairly quickly. But 20 to 50 messages is pretty reasonable in a 90-minute session. meaning in a week you could easily contact over 200 different businesses. How cool is that? And you're aiming for a 1 to 10% conversion rate. So how we're defining a conversion here is out of all the businesses you contact, how many actually end up booking a meeting with you? That's really the main goal, right? That's the one goal you want to keep your mind focused on. Of course, building a lot of relationships is great, having a lot of conversations, but you're not here just to make friends, right? You're here to ultimately get sales and get more clients in your business. So keep that as the most important metric, is how many meetings are you booking? So again, 1 to 10% is what we're shooting for. 5 to 10% would be like absolutely excellent. But if it's below 1%, then you know you need to change some things around. Also, that's assuming that you're personalizing your message. If you're going for a broad approach and you're not sending a different message to everybody, and maybe you're leveraging automation, then you'd be definitely on the lower end of that. But as long as you're personalizing your outreach and sending a very tailored message to each person, you should expect between 1 to 10%, meaning if you contact 100 business owners, 1 to 10 of them should actually end up booking in a meeting with you. So how that can look on a weekly basis is try to aim for 2 to 5 booked calls a week. 5 to 10 would be like absolutely amazing. Maybe later, once you really get good at this, maybe when you're leveraging automation or you even have a team member helping you out, then you can definitely get 5 to 10. But even in the beginning, just shoot for 2 to 5 a week. And think about it, if you're meeting with 2 to 5 different prospects every single week, your business is going to grow like on fire. You know, again, it's all about that consistency. And as long as you keep getting your offer in front of the right people, more people are going to sign up with you. Let's say you're getting, 2 to 5 booked calls a week. Most people I've seen, they'll, have about a 20% closing rate in sales, meaning out of every 5 people they meet with, they'll turn 1 into a client. So if you can get consistently 2 to 5 calls every week, even if you're not that great at the selling part yet, then you should definitely be getting at least 1 to 3 clients a month. So ultimately, that's the goal. 1 to 10% conversion rate on your messaging, 2 to 5 booked calls a week, and 1 to 3 new clients a month consistently. Imagine how that would compound over a year's worth of time. Now let's talk about one of the most important numbers, which is how much money or how much revenue you want to generate in your business. So I want you to take out a piece of paper and think about, what is your next income goal? As far as on a monthly basis, how much money do you want to be making in your business each month? So think about first, what is that number? What is a number that would be realistic to get to within the next year, but would also be very, very motivating for you? Okay, so you have that number. Let's say it's, I want to make $10,000 a month in my business. Now, on your piece of paper, write down what does your product or service cost? And if you have different packages, just try to have an average or choose the middle one. So either you sell a one-off service, which means you work with clients on a per project basis, or maybe you sell a monthly service like social media management or ads or something. Either way, take the number of your income goal per month and then divide that by what your product or service costs. This is also referred to as your ACV, your average contract value. So let's say that you sell web design and your average project is $3,000. That would mean that 10,000 divided by 3 is just about 3 clients a month. That means you only have to get 3 clients a month every month to hit your income goal. And let's say that you have a recurring model where clients pay you each month as an ongoing service. And let's say you charge like $2,500 a month for marketing services, as an example. That would mean that all you need is 4 consistent paying clients and you're at your income goal. So keep that number down and put it somewhere. Like if it's on your computer, print it out. If you wrote it down on a notepad, then stick it somewhere on your wall, because it's really important that we don't just have goals like, oh, I want to grow my business, but think about like, what do you actually want? How much money do you actually want to make in your business? And how are you going to get there? Once we have a specific goal and we know what it takes to get there, it's a lot more motivating, but it's a lot easier once we can see the path. Okay, so now I want to introduce you to my signature 3-step process for landing meetings with your dream clients. There's 3 stages to it. 1 is identify, 2 is message, 3 is convert. We're going to talk a lot more about this as the course goes on, but ultimately, what I want to help you understand is that doing sales, doing cold outreach for lead generation isn't about just like going out and randomly messaging or calling people. You want to look at it more as like a process, as a series of steps. That way you can know what you need to fix if something isn't working well. So just know that there's only really 3 steps to this process. It's very straightforward, very simple, and we're going to talk more in the next lessons about what each of those 3 steps mean. So a question I get asked a lot is, how would automation change my goal setting? Because there's 2 ways to go about cold outreach. 1 is you can actually message people manually and send a personalized message to each prospect. 2 is you can actually automate the process by having a tool send out messages for you. Either way, we're definitely going to recommend that you do this manually first to really get the hang of it before you try to scale it up huge with automation. But later, when you get to automating it, it'll change your goal setting in that your conversion rates will go down. Because if you send someone a message personally, you can really make sure that they're the right prospect. And also, you can actually personalize the message. You can say something specific about them or their business or a problem that you saw that you can help with. And having a more tailored approach, like showing that you did your research, is going to be a lot better received from the other person. So before, when we said that there's a 1 to 10% conversion rate, meaning out of every 100 prospects you contact, 1 to 10 will actually agree to a meeting with you. It's going to be definitely on the lower end, more like 1 to 2% if you're actually automating it and taking out the personalized element of it. But the benefit is that you can actually reach more people and go for higher numbers when you have automation helping you out. Cool, so that's it for this one, guys. I hope you have a better understanding of what we're actually doing here and what outbound prospecting is, and I'll see you in the next lesson.